Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only, Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I'm here with my co-host, PK, all the way from Tucson. How are you, PK?
I'm absolutely fabulous. It's a wonderful day today. Nice and warm, a little more of a breeze than I'd like, but feels delightful after our summer heat.
I bet. Oh, my goodness. You guys have been roasting for months out there. So it's nice to get some relief. Well, and here in New England, it's going to be 70 tomorrow. It's like, wow, we're having real temperatures, and I am not complaining.
It's just incredible that everything is changing the way it is. We may have another 100-day, they said, coming up, but for the most part, we're into the 90s now.
Gosh.
I'm just so excited to hear 90.
And it's
not my age.
That's great. Well, we've got such an exciting show tonight with expert Tom Dongo. He is going to join us in just a few minutes. We're going to be talking about every single thing to do with UFOs and the Bradshaw Ranch, which I've been dying to hear about, ETs, abductions. It's all going to be on tonight, everybody. And if you have any questions for Tom, you can call us at 563-999-3539. Again, that's 563-999-3539. So, PK, tell us what's going on with numbers. You've got lots of stuff surfacing, huh? Lots of political information. Oh, my goodness.
First, we have to remember that this is a month dealing with major changes. It's also a preview of next year. So nothing is normal. Nothing's going to stay calm and quiet. We're going to have things bouncing from everywhere throughout the rest of this month and definitely thereafter. So hang on to the side of the boat, folks, so that you don't get thrown in the water, because it's going to be a rough ride that we're going to get for the next few weeks. Now, today deals with our finances and how you want to put things in order, and it's a great time to take a look at what do you want to do for the next couple of weeks. I should say for the next week, but I'm saying a couple of weeks because we're dealing with retrograde on top of everything else. So please remember, if something breaks down, don't throw it out and run out and buy something new. Wait and see, because the odds are anything to do with electronics, after the retrograde is over, it will start to work again. It's always surprising how that can take place. But so we're just going to have to hold on, take a look at, but also remember that there is a luck factor that goes with this month. But since it's in a retrograde, it may not jump out at us right away where we can feel it. It may take a little bit for that oh-ho surprise moment. So just don't get impatient. We have to wait this one out.
Well, I can't wait to see what else is going to be revealed. I know you talked about this months ago, that we would all be looking at new information, very scandalous information, and that's something you predicted. Oh, God.
I won't mention a name because I don't want anybody to think I'm prejudiced or whatever, but we do have a lot of information coming out about a young man, quote, that, what can you say? People, just pay attention to the news, take a look at everything, use your own good judgments, but holy cow, are we in for a ride? Was that good?
Well, that crazy times, I got to say. Oh, my gosh.
Sleep, watch the sun, that's all. I said that it's very sleepy out here today, and you have to watch the sun.
Well, I have to say, I just got a message from John Rhodes. I totally mixed up his time with us. So I'm going to just share with everybody that hopefully John will be able to come on next week. So anyways, I'm going to send him a quick text and tell him that I made a mistake. And hopefully he will join us next week. And we're going to be talking about cryptids, which is my favorite topic, the one that scares me the most, the skinwalker.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear about that from John. So anyways, I also want to send everybody to our Facebook page because we have a story there about fairies abducting people. It's fascinating. Go take a look at it. Lots of UFO stories there as well. Give us a like and a follow. And also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and soon on TikTok. Well, actually, you can follow us on TikTok now. We're going to be putting up content soon. So anyways, our guest tonight is an incredible expert on UFOs. Let me tell you who it is. It is Tom Dongo. He is widely recognized as one of America's leading experts on the paranormal, UFOs and extraterrestrials. He is the author of 8 books that focus on the paranormal, including his bestseller, the revised edition of Merging Dimensions, which describes the incredibly strange paranormal happenings which took place on the Bradshaw Ranch in Sedona, Arizona. He has appeared on over 36 national and international television shows, and he has been on 40 international talk shows, reaching over 17 million listeners worldwide. Tom speaks widely and was also a featured speaker at the International UFO Congress. He's here with us tonight. Tom, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm glad to be here. It's going to be fun.
Oh, we're happy to have you. There's no question about that. Can't wait to hear what you've got to tell us today.
And yeah, and also, why UFOs? How did you get into this?
I've probably been asked that 10,000 times, and I never get tired of it. When I do lectures, that's the one question. It's the first question people always ask me. So I'll kind of go back from the beginning. I had a sporting goods store in Reno, Nevada, and I was walking down the street one day, and a giant pair of hands grabbed me. It was from my waist to my shoulder, giant pair of hands. And I've heard other people talk about this before. So anyway, these hands were steering me down the sidewalk and came to a parking lot, and it turned me into the parking lot. And I was going in between these hands were steering me in between the cars, and I saw I was headed for a bookstore. So I said, "Well, this is going to be interesting." So went through the front door. Going down through the aisles, and I got to the back of the store, and there was a big rack of used books. And the hands bent me down, so I was looking at a book right on the floor, and it was Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts. So I spent 6 months studying that, and that's really what got me into all of this. It's an incredible book, Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts. At any rate, so to make a long story short, when I got to, I really had no interest in UFOs, and I'd seen a few when I was younger. I grew up in Maine, in Falmouth, Maine, and I'd seen a few there, but I had no interest in UFOs. It was, just a funny light in the sky and that kind of stuff. So I moved from Santa Cruz, California, to Sedona. I was in Sedona 32 years. I live in Cottonwood now, which is about 20 miles south, and I started to constantly run into UFO stories, flying saucer stories, and extraterrestrial stuff. And then so I started digging around. Oh, I'm getting a bad echo.
Yeah, I'm hearing it as well. Are you on a landline?
Yeah, no, cell phone.
Okay, you might want to try to move around and see if we can get a better signal with you.
Okay. Okay, I seem to have, it's not there now, so.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So anyway, so I started to dig more into it, and I started to write some stories. And I was always a writer. I've written magazines, stories for big name magazines like Skiing Magazine and a few in Europe, and so I started digging around and gathering information, and I ended up writing a story for a monthly periodical in Sedona. It took me 7 days to write the story. The woman that had the periodical, she took the book that I wrote, the story that I wrote, and made it into a book. She wanted to start a book writing business, and she's still in business. She's my publisher. She's been in business now for I think 40 years, and she's moved from Sedona up to Flagstaff. But so she took the story I wrote in 7 days, and it's my first book. She made it into a book, The Mysteries of Sedona, and that book has been in print now for 34 years, and it's still one of my best-selling books. It's a white book. Yeah. So anyway, she didn't tell me she was going to make it into a book. So it launched her into the book publishing business, and it got me into the book publishing business. So I had a first book, so I figured, what the heck, I might as well do another one. So I did. I started The Alien Tide, and I about halfway through the book, I ran out of stuff I could write about. I said, well, I guess that's going to be the end of this book. And then I suddenly got avalanched with material from everywhere. So I ended up, as a result of studying for The Alien Tide, I ended up interviewing, I estimate around 400 people that in 5 years that had abductee and contactee experiences, kind of like Bud Hopkins, But
yeah.
The funny thing is, the funny thing is, all these people, as terrified as they were, some Bud Hopkins came up with some awful bad stuff, but I never, I had people that were near suicide, and I would the odd thing about, I'm always going, why me? What it is about me? I would get involved in these things, and it would stop every single time. I say, what is it about me? So I figured, they either respect me or fear me, one or the other. So, so anyway, suddenly I was avalanched with more stories I could. They were coming from everywhere suddenly. So I finished The Alien Tide, and then I ended up writing 8 books totally, and 2 of them are out of print forever. One of them, The Quest, is The Quest is my favorite book. I love that book, and we COVID hit just as we were reprinting it. So my publisher, it's done forever. It's my publisher doesn't have the money now to reprint it because of COVID.
What a shame.
So anyway, yeah. I've had offers to other publishers to print it, but it'd be such a hassle. It's not worth it. A couple are in New York, and it would be so much of a hassle. It just wouldn't be worth it. So so at any rate, that was kind of what launched it. And all these people these abductees, I was right in there amongst them. People that were, I would probably at least 20 of those people were very close to suicide with the experiences they were having with extraterrestrials. And I don't fear anything. I never have. I've been called totally reckless, and I said, no, I don't fear it. So they don't bother me. But all these people that were terrified by their experiences, and I'm sure it was terrifying. You're laying on a table, and these funny-looking bug-like creatures are sticking things in you. It'd probably scare the hell out of me too. But
right.
Every single person that had these contactee experiences, their consciousness was raised immensely. They cared about people better. They cared about themselves better. They ate better food. They were very, very conscious of the planet and the animals. Their consciousness was raised when before they didn't. They ate hamburgers and French fries, and suddenly they're vegetarians eating excellent, wonderful food. And I saw this every single person. So whatever the extraterrestrials were doing, there was a good result of it. anyway, they got me started in this whole thing.
That's amazing. What an incredible story. So it sounds like you were chosen to have those hands come down and direct you the way they did. And also the fact that you said when you got involved, it all stopped. Were you referring to that these constant abductions these people were undergoing stopped, or their suicidal thoughts stopped?
Well, the extraterrestrials stopped messing with them. I mean, this happened dozens of times. I would jump right into these things. I mean, I've been. We can talk about this later. There's only two things I fear. I'm afraid of are dogmen and something that I call an awful evil. We can talk about that later. But you were talking about cryptids. The only thing, skinwalkers don't bother me. You know, I'm right on the edge of the Navajo reservation, so I know a lot. I know a lot about skinwalkers.
Yeah, you must know all about that.
Yeah, I do. I have Navajo friends that one woman, she's a full-blooded Navajo, and she was a shaman. She was in the men's circles. She was one of the shamans. I mean, that's a great honor for a woman, you know. And the men accepted her totally. So we were going to do a thing on the Navajo reservation. What happens with extraterrestrials and UFOs on the Navajo Nation, all the Indian nations, is you wouldn't believe it. I mean, they land in people's yards. They get out and talk to them and walk around. I've interviewed a lot of these people, and they don't care. They're not. You know, they have no ego. They're not worried about. You know, they're not interested. They know they're not going to get rich telling this story. These are just common, ordinary, most of the time very poor people that had an incredible UFO extraterrestrial experience. I can tell stories for 2 hours about that. So at any rate, her name was Pi, P-Y-E. So Pi and I were going to do, and she's a very bright woman. We were going to have, we had it all set up, but we didn't get the funding that we thought we were going to. We had the whole Navajo Nation set up, and she was, and the Indians don't trust white people. You know, they got a good reason. So, you know, even as many friends as I've had, they've got a basic distrust of white people. So anyway, Pi was going to be I was going to be I was advising, and she was going to be the one that was visible. And so we had people all over the Navajo Nation that were going to call into us, and the stories. You know, maybe later we'll have a little time to. I can tell some of these stories. They're incredible. What happened? And they're still, to this day, this stuff is still going on with the Indians. You know, and I get criticized. Don't call them Indians. Call them Native Americans. I have never heard an Indian call another Indian a Native American. Not once. Yeah, right. So.
I know, we don't have to be politically correct, do we? I mean, just, you know, like you said, it is what it is. But these are amazing stories that you're starting to lead into here. And so it's just common for them to walk out into their yard and a UFO is there and these ETs ready to talk to them. That's incredible. Gosh.
Well, I did my research at Indian Wells. There's nothing there now. The town that was there is gone. But the people that I was visiting with lived. It's called Indian Wells, and there's a woman. There's a lot of those people are very, very poor. They have nothing, and I mean they have nothing. They have a place to live in that's often given to them by the government, but they have no phones. They have a car that's 20 years old, and so at any rate, there was a woman. She's pretty old, like me. She was a UFO land. Yeah, right. A UFO landed in, and it's the Indians that were telling me this, I know that they never lied to me. They never made this stuff up. They didn't have to. They didn't want to. They had no ego, no. But a UFO landed in this woman's yard, and a lot of these Indians live in the middle of nowhere, and I'm talking nowhere. The roads are bad, and the roads are snowed in or washed out, sometimes months. So anyway, this ship, this alien spacecraft, landed in this woman's front yard. I mean, they talk about this like it's no big deal. They don't get excited about it. It just happened, you know. And so these aliens, and they were human aliens. They weren't humanoids. They were human. So they're always doing some kind of research. If they land in a fairly remote place, they're doing research. And these were. So she just went over and talked to them like they were neighbors, you know, and said, well, how you doing? They said, oh, we're just great, you know. So anyway, she talked to them. She talked to these extraterrestrials for about 15, 20 minutes and went back in her house and finished her cooking while they looked around and you know, and did whatever they were going to do, and then they took off. You know, the Indians told me this. The Navajos told me this. Like, it's no big deal. I mean, this stuff happens a lot up here. So do you ever hear about that outside? No. And the Washington State reservations, it's even more dramatic. I have a video of the police chief of the oh boy, I can never remember that name. Same as the roof racks. I'll think of it probably at the end of the show. But anyway, he was. It's a big reservation, and Yakima. Hey, not bad.
There you go.
Yakima Reservation. I've got a video of him. A friend of mine was a UFO researcher. This is the chief of police on the Yakima Nation, in uniform, talking about the little people that he'd see on his tour. You know, when he's driving around his police car, and he'd see them little people, you know, 10 inches tall or whatever, and he was you know, here's a you know, talking about it matter of factly, no big deal. It's just something. He was telling this story. He was way up on a mountain. These are mostly dirt roads, and he was coming down, and he saw an old woman carrying a shoulder full of sticks. So he stopped, and he realized she was only about 18 inches tall. So he got out, and she started to run when she saw he stopped. So he followed her, you know, through the rocks, and she just disappeared. Little people, and they're real. You know, they're real. There's people just don't, you know, allow themselves to think about that. So that's the stuff he talked about. The chief of.
But when you say little people, are you talking about the fairy kingdom, or are you talking about tiny extraterrestrials?
No, there are different kinds. There's extraterrestrials. The smallest extraterrestrials that I know of are 6 inches tall, and they fly ships. They've flown right through. Yeah, they've flown right. Yeah, they've flown right through people's bedroom windows in their ships, and landed somewhere and got out. And they were 6 inches tall. There's you know, a lot of research done on that. So, but no, they're different. There's elementals. You know, there's fairies, there's gnomes, there's elves.
Right.
Little people, little humans, and they're real. They're absolutely real. So.
Wow. This is just incredible. I mean, we certainly know they're real, but to know that this gentleman actually had this experience is incredible. Because don't they usually, they don't want to be seen, do they?
Unless no, they don't like to be seen. They don't like to deal with us. They're unless they want to be seen. They want to interact with somebody, but that's rare. They try to hide. They always trying to hide. I personally have never seen any sign of a small person. I spent when I was my younger life in the woods and whatnot, and I've seen plenty of big tracks like Bigfoot. I've studied Bigfoot since I was 16, so we can talk about the next 3 hours on Bigfoot if you want.
Oh my goodness!
But,
okay.
Yeah, right. Oh, I know Bigfoot in and out. They're real. They're absolutely real. They're very gentle, and they're everywhere. Different kinds of them.
Different tribes.
So anyway,
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'll tell a quick story. I have a friend that was a CIA. Annie, I know you're listening. Yeah, my friend Annie's listening. So hi, Annie. So I got to tell this story right. He was a CIA operative, and he was sent to Mongolia. And I know two stories like this, and they're both basically the same. Anyway, he was sent to. I get these two stories mixed up because they're so similar. So the Mongolian shamans took him to a very remote place in Mongolia to meet a Yeti. And Yetis are different than Bigfoot. They're not. They're skinnier and they're smaller, but they're real. And he met a Yeti, and it didn't. One instance, the Yeti talked, and in this particular one that Annie told me about, he didn't. They were just. But the guy said it was one of the most intelligent-looking creatures he'd ever seen. And then the shamans took him back. So anyway, I know two stories that are almost identical like that.
Here's my question, Tom. What did the Yeti talk about? What did he say?
I don't know. The one that did talk to a Yeti, they went there. The CIA sent him there for a reason, but they didn't tell me what they talked about. That was the one thing they left out.
Oh my. Wow, this is fascinating. Well, our tagline on this show is where paranormal is normal, because all of these things are normal to us. And you have had the privilege of meeting people that have had these experiences and having these experiences yourself. So good for you. We want to know your secrets.
Yeah, well, the super paranormal is normal to me because I've been dealing with it for 50 years. So stuff that a lot of people, I talk about this. I used to be attacked constantly by disbelievers, skeptics, debunkers. I gave up 3 times because I couldn't take the attacks. Now everybody is super interested in what I've got to say because I can prove it. I've had witnesses. I can most of the things that I've done. There were witnesses with me that can prove what I saw. And so a lot of the things that I thought I was going crazy have come true. I've so many times I thought I'm going insane. I know it. I'm trying to see the signs of was I drooling in my oatmeal or something, and usually So and usually something I would think I've got to be going insane, and something would validate it. Something would happen that would prove I was right. I wasn't crazy. So. Now I do crazy stuff all the time, and people are absolutely fascinated by it because I've been there, done that. Like I said when we were talking earlier, I hunt them on their turf. I'm too old to do that now, but when I was younger, I'd hunt them on their turf. Bigfoot, I didn't care what they were, and I've had some hair-raising experiences. Yeah,
let me ask you a question about the UFOs and ETs. Because, the fact that they're landing in people's backyards on these reservations, just having a casual conversation, is very intriguing. However, this is a question that comes up a lot when PK and I interview people on the show. Why aren't they providing more help? For example, like teaching some people how to heal, to do things like that they've been known to do themselves. Why don't they do more of that? Is there an answer to that question?
Well, yeah, absolutely is. They are doing that. Like the Swedes, no, they are doing that, but they're trying to keep a low profile as possible. But they are here, and they are helping people. I'll tell you a story in a minute about the Swedes. Don't let me forget. I get off on tangents real easy.
I've made a note.
But, okay. But Bill Hamilton, who was 20 years ago, he was the world's top UFO researcher. And oh gosh, where was I going with that? Oh shoot, now I totally forgot it. My mind went in a different direction.
Well, the question was all about why aren't they teaching more people how to heal like they know how to heal? They know how to do some pretty incredible things, and why aren't they transmitting that information to people they feel friendly to?
Yeah. We can talk about that. I can tell you a lot about it. But anyway, Bill interviewed a guy. Okay, to go back a little bit. There are about 15. These are my estimates. There are about 15 races of human extraterrestrials, and all the rest are humanoid. And I would say there's the estimates I've seen from the U.S. government and whatnot. The day after Roswell, Colonel Corso said there were 7. I deal with military people, all ex-intelligence people, Army, Navy, and he in the day after Roswell, he said that the Army knew of 71 races then that were on the Earth or coming either on the Earth or coming and going from the Earth. And so Bill, I would say there are about 125, and only about 15 of those are human. That's my evidence. So anyway, Bill was interviewing a guy. I've interviewed 12 people that had face-to-face human extraterrestrial experiences. They actually sat and talked with human extraterrestrials. And every single time they said it was absolutely wonderful being around these people. So Bill interviewed a guy that had run into a landed UFO. That they talked, and the guy said, why don't you come in and stop us and save the planet before we destroy it? And he said, we can't, because we would be held responsible for the things you humans do as a result of our intervention into your affairs. So that's why they don't do it openly. They are afraid of us because we're too unpredictable. So how do I know that? Because I talk to them, and I'm not the only one. I can name a few names of people that talk to extraterrestrials, because I'm a master remote viewer, and if you're a master remote viewer, you can talk. I can talk to extraterrestrials. I've done it many times. So it's not easy. It's not like you and I talking. They talk telepathically, and they send pictures. You have to interpret their pictures. Not all of them do it that way, but most of them do. And I've been face to face with the ones that are they're always talking about the bad guys and the good guys. Well, I've been face to face with the bad ones, and as long as you recognize them, they respect you. So and they are bad.
Bad ones? I mean, they're humanoids.
Yeah. It's the ones that are really messing with us. They're humanoids. The human extraterrestrials are not. The ones that don't like us just don't bother with us. And there are some that don't like us. Oh, they're indifferent. You can do whatever you want to do. Blow yourself up on the planet. Have at it. That's their attitude. But there are probably, I'm guessing 6 races of human extraterrestrials that are doing everything they can to help us. Like Billy Meyer's Pleiadians, and the Swedes. Okay, I'll tell you the Swede story.
Okay.
You guys interrupt me if you got ask questions.
Yeah, we will.
The tougher the better. I love tough questions.
Okay.
So anyway, So anyway, this friend of mine, Gerald. Now this happened about 25, maybe 30 years ago. Gerald's almost 90 now, so this happened quite a while ago. Him and another guy were in the interior of Mexico, and and Gerald in a million years wouldn't make up a story like this. There's no reason to. But anyway, these two guys were in the interior of Mexico, and they were driving around a beat up old Jeep on beat up old roads that were brutal. And so they were in a village, and all these people with black hair. There was this beautiful blonde girl, and so that caught their eye because she was beautiful. She was, drop dead beautiful blonde girl. So anyway, they were driving out of the village, and she was there, kind of thumbing a ride. She waved them down and said, "Will you give me a ride back to my people?" And they said, "Well, yeah, sure, hop in." So they went on this brutal ride, across the landscape on cowpath roads, and they came to this huge valley, and they had to drive down, back down, drive down, back down to get to the bottom of this valley. And when they did, they said there were blonde-haired people. He didn't say how many, but I'm guessing about 50. And their ships, their flying saucers were hidden in the trees. They could see them. And Gerald thought it was wonderful, but the other guy was going crazy. He was freaking out. He kept saying, "They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us." So so the guy, and they were there for 3 days, and the guy never quit. "They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us." But Gerald said they were the sweetest. Yeah, Gerald said they were the sweetest people you can imagine. Kind, considerate, So they were the 3rd day. They were helping the peons, the farmers, to grow better crops. That's what they were doing all over South America. And he said, well, they said the federales are going to catch up with us anytime. So when that happens, we have to leave immediately. So anyway, they went out to the edge of the village, and there's this long valley, and the guy, the Swede, the extraterrestrial, just held his hand out, raised his hand, and this ship comes up out of the trees, a disc, flying saucer, and it comes all the way up the valley and stops right over them, and this ladder-like thing drops out of it, and he says, come on, let's go for a ride on my ship. And then just then somebody came running out, federales. So he says, well, we got to go, and you two get out of here. You don't want to get caught here by the federales. So Gerald and the other guy ran to their jeep and went back up, back, and then that was the end of it. But that's the sort of thing they do, and they're doing it wherever they can. But now the problem is the cameras. There's cameras everywhere. Back in the days where and they had the satellites. They're everywhere. So I'm sure. And I've heard that the U.S. government now has a beam weapon that can shoot down any UFO. They've had it for about 5 years. It can shoot down any UFO. So naturally, they're nervous.
Yeah,
they should be. Well, how can they trust us? I mean, we react without thinking in too many cases.
But don't we have?
Yeah, there's been too many.
Yeah, there's too many people with cell phone cameras, obviously, so they can't deny it anymore, the government.
No.
But at the same time, they want to own this, right? The government wants to own this whole thing. That's why they have a big PR campaign, changing it from UFOs to UAPs, and they're releasing information a little bit at a time. I mean, they have a plan. It's clear that they do.
Yes and no. The Brookings Institute, 25 years ago, the government told them what they knew about extraterrestrials. I know what the government knows because I've remote viewed it, so I know what they know. But 25 or 30 years ago, the Brookings Institute, which is a very prestigious institute, the government told them what they knew about extraterrestrials, and it was a lot. So they had Brookings go out and interview people and say, what if we know that extraterrestrials are here, and whatnot, and some stories, and they went back to the government, and Brookings said, don't tell them anything, ever, because two things will happen. There'll be a revolution amongst the religions, and the world economy will collapse within days. So since then, the government knows. I edited his book. I proofread his book before the publisher published it, and he had a cosmic top secret clearance, and he says, come on, all of us, we're compartmentalized, in what we know. None of us know everything, but we know that the U.S. government has been dealing face to face with extraterrestrials since about 1938, and face to face since 1943. We all know this. No big deal. And the extraterrestrials have been giving them secrets, and so I mean, this thing gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And I went to a talk that Linda Moulton Howe did, and she said she interviewed I believe he was a captain in the Pentagon, and he got angry because he found out what the government was doing and not telling us, the American people. So he got kind of. He went to a colonel, high-ranking military officer, said, this is driving me nuts. I'm going to talk. So the colonel patiently said, well, son, no, you can't do that, because we are never going to tell the American people what we know about extraterrestrials, and I know what they know. So
what?
I don't blame him, because it's a lot. So I mean, look at the wacko stuff that's going on around now with this Antifa and all
so
this
how
stuff
is that
going.
Connected? How is that connected to this?
Because people would overreact and burn cities, and same thing is going on now. It'd be so that's why we could handle it. We could handle it, but the majority of people would freak out. They couldn't deal with it. They'd revolt.
Well, I can see where they would revolt, because they would feel there's a higher power that has has more technology than our own government.
Right.
So why should we listen
Right.
to our own government? I can see that kind of
Right.
thing. But people
Right.
going crazy, I don't see that as a reality. Maybe it is, but I don't see that because now it seems that people just accept that, yeah, there's UFOs in the sky. And the government has released a few things like the Tic Tac sighting and all of that. But, they say they have ET technology. They're going to release a report on it. So I think people have been conditioned enough to know that this is happening. But it's like, okay, but who owns it? And it just seems to me that the government does want to own it, and that's why they won't release all this other information. It's about power and control.
Mm-hmm.
Just what
Well,
it seems
a small
to me. I may be wrong.
Yeah, a small percentage of people would accept it because there's so many of us that want to know about it, right?
Yeah.
But I know what the government knows. Some of these extraterrestrials are they're killing us, in a word. So to a lot of them, we are a herd of cattle. Charles Fort was right in 1921. All he had for research material was newspaper clippings. And when he quit doing paranormal research, he said the last words he said before he quit, he says, "We are somebody's herd of cattle," and I totally agree with that. So some of these extraterrestrials are really messing with us bad. They're killing us. So we need to know about this.
Physically, or they're torturing us psychologically?
Yep. No,
they're actually killing people physically.
Well, look what we're doing with animals, and they're doing the same thing to us. We're a herd of animals, and they're studying us. So, anyways, this kind of stuff that people, the government doesn't want people to know. But if we know about it, see, my approach is through remote viewing. I've been hammering at this for years now. I'm a master remote viewer. I was born with the ability, so I can probe these things. I understand them. And I'm trying to. I've said this a million times. I wish there were a million people that had the ability that I do, the remote viewing ability, because for one thing, there would be no more secrets, and we could talk to extraterrestrials. They would understand extraterrestrials, and they would leave us alone. But people, these good guys, bad guys. I really get sick of hearing that. Because, the bad guys are bad and the good guys are really good, but it's a cliche now. Good guys, bad guys, white hats, black hats. It just messes things up. I mean, it's an awareness that people just don't have. And are they stupid? Yeah, a little bit. They are a little bit stupid because they don't have the willingness to find out. Well, Tom, how do you know this? I says, well, you find out. I mean, do what I did. You find out. Don't believe me. You find out. So so that's what I'm up against.
Well, and don't you find though, as you mentioned earlier, now that more people accept this, they don't try to debunk it, and there's just a lot of unanswered questions. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm trying to train people as remote viewers. I wish I'd have started this 50 years ago. I mean, when I was 50 years old instead of 75. My batteries are running low on energy, and I just don't have the energy anymore. But I'm trying. My technique is so simple to train people how to remote view. I don't charge them $2,000. On my Facebook page, go to my Facebook page, Tom Dongo. Go back about 15 posts, and there's a post that I put, how to remote view. It's free. I told people I'm not charging $2,000 for this. I'm giving it to you free. Read it.
That's
once
great.
You get through once you get to the end of that, you will understand remote viewing, and you will know how to do it. But it's not going to happen in 2 days. Some people think they can try it for 2 days and be a remote viewer. I mean, that's the attitude these days of a lot of society. They think it's all instant. It's not. It doesn't happen. You have to practice. And even with the abilities I have to practice it once in a while to kind of keep it sharp. So,
well, sure, and it's just like what you were also talking about, communicating with extraterrestrials. It's something that you learn to do, but you continue to practice it, and through your remote viewing, you found a way to make it happen. But we've heard a lot of stories, in our show, during our show, about ETs, reptilians. Some are good, some are bad, some are, hateful towards us, some want to eat us for food, and others want to help. So it becomes this huge landscape of, okay, well, if you have an ET experience, you're going to trust them, because how do you know who you're dealing with? Certainly the people on the reservation feel comfortable because nobody's being attacked or taken away forever and ever to be experimented on. So they have a whole different perspective based on their friendly experience, which is very exciting. But all of this undercurrent is what makes this whole field so difficult for many people to wrap their minds around. The rabbit hole is so deep, and there's so many races of extraterrestrials. So many of them have bases here. And like you said, so many are coming and going as they please. So there's just a lot to take in.
Well, I hate to say this, but, from what I know and the hard research I've done, I would say at least 70% of these stories you hear are somebody's fantasy. It doesn't exist. They created it, and they believe it. That's it, period. They've created a reality that they believe. I mean, I read books, and somebody will tell me about a book, and I go, oh, God. I mean, this stuff has got to stop, because none of this is true. And I patiently listen to some people's stories, and, it's their I'll tell you this story that it was pretty common in Sedona for a long time. I have the theory that a lot of people never had a childhood, so they get to be 45 or 50 or 55 years old, and they can have a childhood. And some of this stuff I see drives me insane, because it's leading people in the wrong direction. It's giving them the wrong information. So there was this one guy, and I don't remember his name, it was a long time ago, but he was a very successful real estate guy, had nice cars, nice house, but he was the gatekeeper of the universe, and he carried this staff with crystals all over it and feathers and everything, and he'd carry it most of the time. He'd have that, and you say, what are you doing with that? He says, I'm the gatekeeper of the universe. Total fantasy world. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I understand that's rather delusional information, so that's not a road we want to go down. But let's go to the Bradshaw Ranch. Now, that's a UFO hotspot, and we understand there's no longer anybody living there. It was sold off to the government. But you have been there, and you've had experiences, and the photographs that you sent that are on our Blog Talk Radio ad are just incredible. So tell us about this ranch, and who are the aliens that were visiting it?
Well, it really wasn't aliens and UFOs. It was the Bradshaw Ranch for about 5 years was the most paranormal spot on the planet. And I was in the middle of all of it. And 3 books have been written about the Bradshaw Ranch. And it's similar to the Skinwalker Ranch, but just a little different. And the Stardust Ranch is totally different. Stardust Ranch is, it's another whole different story. So anyway, the Bradshaw Ranch, I had heard about the Bradshaw Ranch when I first moved to Sedona, and I was dying to go out there because I heard the stories about all this strange stuff going on out there. So I got a letter from Linda Bradshaw. Would you please come out here? We've heard about your reputation and as a researcher and all that. She said, will you please come out here? I want to show you what I've discovered. So I went out there the next day, she showed me. Now, Linda Bradshaw and Linda Crystal in New York, at Pine Bush, New York, were the first they discovered orb photography. Linda Crystal and Linda Bradshaw at about the same time, and they're both gone. They've both passed on. So anyway, Linda had these photographs of orbs, and I thought, wow, I've never seen anything like that. And so anyway, I ended up spending 4.5 years on the ranch, not two or three or four nights a week. I'd drive out there every night, be there until about 1 o'clock in the morning. So I was a witness to this stuff, and what we did was we had 35 millimeter cameras. Digital wasn't out yet then, so we would walk around at night taking flash pictures just random flash pictures, up, down, sideways, any direction. And sometimes we could see the things that were the camera lit up, and so it was really bizarre. But so the next day we would develop. We ran out of money. We couldn't do the prints anymore. So we would develop the negatives, and then look at the negatives with a magnifying glass, see if there was anything on it, and then we would develop the print. So anyway, that's what we did for 4.5 years, and then we got into digital, and digital is the same. It's just as good. Both 35 millimeter and digital is just as good, but we never had we had camera crews from all over the world out there. Japanese, Swiss, German, England. Anyway, so we would ask these guys. They'd come out there and do filming on the Bradshaw Ranch, and they'd see this stuff that was going on. They'd film it, and we were begging them to go back to your superiors, your bosses, and you've got the film, you've got video evidence right there, and tell them we need equipment, we need cameras, we need any kind of scientific equipment we can get, because we know these things always end suddenly, always. That the research I've done, and and they would go back to their bosses and get shot down every single time. We would say, we'll give you, leave a cameraman here, we will give you all the rights, to this stuff, and you can do whatever you want to do with it, but we need the scientific equipment, because all we had were 35 millimeter cameras, point and shoot. That's all we could afford. Mm-hmm. And the Bradshaws owned that big ranch, but they didn't have any money, So anyway, it started from there, and then the experience. My books are Merging Dimensions, my new book, and it's selling great. Good thing, because my publishers get it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's great, and congratulations. But here is a question for you, because we're talking about so many different things in the paranormal field with these ranches. They all have their own events, and it sounds like the Bradshaw Ranch, and especially from the photos I've seen, had a lot to do with crossing dimensions, interdimensionals versus ETs from other planets. Was that the case?
Yeah, that's what my whole theory is, that UFOs aren't coming, millions of light years from somewhere. They're dimensional. They're coming from another dimension. And like Bigfoot is a dimensional creature because it can materialize and dematerialize. They can all do it. How can they do it?
Yes. But how do they? Are they coming through were they coming through a portal on the Bradshaw Ranch?
Well, there was a Bigfoot on the Bradshaw Ranch. It was a white Bigfoot. I've since learned there's people are studying. I just read a study on the internet about a guy that's studying white Bigfeet, and I'm going, well, dang, that's pretty interesting, because I always thought they were either black or brown, or some flavor in between that. But no, he's studying light-colored Bigfeet. And I thought, well, doggone. So anyway, Linda called this Bigfoot Big Girl. I think Big Girl's famous now. People all over the internet talk about Big Girl. But
she was a white Bigfoot?
Yeah, about 8 feet tall.
Because my understanding with the white Bigfoot is that they're almost like considered the royalty of the tribes, or whatever you want to call them. There's something special about them in their own, in their own kind. Is that true?
I've never. Good point. It could very well be. Why not? I've never heard that before. But why not? So, anyway. What I was talking about, the crazy stuff that happened, almost unbelievable stuff, and we saw it every night. And I said this a million times. Anywhere around Sedona or the Bradshaw Ranch, you could go out any day or any night, and you would see something that would change your life. It was that dramatic here from about 1986 to 1995. Any time, any day, you could go out into the canyons and see something that would change your life. So dramatic, so spectacular. So anyway, big girl, Linda, and I had a hard time with this. Even though if you read my books, you'll see Merging Dimensions is all about the Bradshaw Ranch, and Linda would. I'm getting that echo again. I'll move my phone around.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so Big Girl. So Linda would leave food out in a tree that only something 8 feet tall could reach. And, you know, raccoons couldn't get at it. She showed me the tree. A raccoon would break the tree. So in the morning, the food would be gone, the grapes, bananas, whatever she left, and there would be sticks. There would be a patch of ground cleared on below the tree, and there'd be a pattern of sticks. And Linda used to say that's Big Girl's way of thanking me for the food. So anyway, I thought, yeah, well, okay, that's kind of even with the wild stuff that's going on out here, it's hard for me to handle that. So, you know, and, so there was an old Western movie set. Elvis Presley, John Wayne, Randolph Scott, Maureen O'Hara were all there. Movies on that movie set, that old Western movie set on the Bradshaw Ranch, and so it was pretty fallen down by the time I was out there. It was the only one that was still in good shape was the saloon. Everything else was pretty messy. So anyway, Linda and I were coming out of the old Western town one night, and there was nobody anywhere near us. You to get to any other direction except through the Bradshaw Ranch, you had to go through about a half a mile of cat's claw. Cat's claw bushes are impossible to get through. I've tried it. I tried to cut them. You know, the cowboys call it the comeback plant. You get snagged on that thing, you got to go back because they're bushes with cat's claws all over them, just like a cat.
Yikes.
And so nobody. Yeah, nobody. Oh, they're brutal. You can't. I've tried cutting my way through them. It's impossible. You can't do it, no matter how you do it. So anyway, we heard Big Feet have. I'm sure you've heard this plenty of times. Big Feet will pick up a log and smack a tree 3 times. That's one of their ways of communicating.
Loud knocks. Yes.
Yeah. So we were all the way out of the ranch going up the hill, and we heard this bang, bang, bang. Something very strong, very powerful picked up a 2x4 or whatever and slammed it up against the side of a building. And I told Linda, I said, I'm a believer now. There's nobody else anywhere near. Yeah. So, you know, and then I've told this story about 1 million times on talk radio. I never get tired of it. The ranch hands thought we were nuts. I mean, I'm so used to people thinking I'm, you know, used to be a nutcase, you know. And so I was used to it even then, you know, the disbelievers. And so the ranch hands, one day Linda talked to them, and she was they were going to go deer hunting on the ranch, and they disappeared out of sight with their rifles. And Linda said about 10 minutes later, she heard this blood-curdling scream from way off down the ranch. You could clearly hear it inside the ranch house. And about 15 minutes later, these 3 guys come back running the 100-yard dash, and ran up to the ranch house. Yeah, ran up to the ranch house and threw the guns in the corner. They ran out yelling, "We believe, we believe, we believe!" And they jumped in the pickup. They jumped in the pickup and went into town.
Funny.
Yeah, went in town and got drunk. So yeah, I like that story.
That's a great one. Well, let me ask you this, because I'm getting some text questions here from listeners. Here's the question. We get this a lot also on the show. How can I communicate with extraterrestrials? So what do you tell people about that?
Well, that's a hard one. They really won't communicate unless they want to. But I can tell you one thing for sure. If you think about extraterrestrials, they will pick up your thoughts. If you're well, let's say the Pleiadians, Billy Meyer's Pleiadians, you know, a certain group. I would not recommend any of the humanoids, but extraterrestrials. If you're thinking about them intently, they will hear your thoughts because they've done it to me hundreds of times. You know, I would be thinking of something and they would do it, right? So I know that extraterrestrials, if you're thinking about them, they will hear your thoughts. I can say that 100% with no doubt.
Okay, so that if somebody wanted to communicate that way, they could think of them. And again, we're talking about the Pleiadians that look human. They are blonde and blue-eyed and fairly tall, from what I understand, and very beautiful. So you'd think of that type of ET, and hopefully you'd receive a message back.
Well, if they choose to, they will do something for you. And incidentally, there are books that have been written about the tricksters. Well, human extraterrestrials love to play tricks on us.
That's
I know
not
that
very
for
nice.
a fact. No, it isn't. And I'll tell you, it really pisses me off because how much time we got left? I'll tell you a couple of stories.
We have
How are we doing on time?
30 minutes.
Mhm.
I'll tell you something weird though. Before we go forward, I looked at the clock and it was like we walked into a time warp because I can't believe we only have 30 minutes left in this show. Doesn't it feel the same way to you, PK?
I can't get over how fast. When you asked what time, I looked at it. I went 30 minutes. Oh my God! I can't believe how fast it's gone.
I know
you are
it.
fabulous with your stories.
We've crossed into another dimension with you, Tom.
Yeah,
for sure.
It does feel that way.
Let me tell you about something that happened to me. I just put it on Facebook about something that happened to me. I've been doing treasure hunting for about 15 years in the Southwest with my partner Michael Greenup, and we were up on the General Crook Trail. It's on the Colorado Plateau in Arizona. We were about 8,000 feet, and I have a lot of friends. I have close Apache friends, close Zuni, close Navajo, and anyway, so I understand Indians very well, and so we were doing where we were looking for $100 million worth of Apache ambush loot. We finally gave up after 7 years, and we had some of the world's best treasure dowsers working with us, and we finally had to give up because we just couldn't. If it's there, and I know it is, we couldn't find it. They ambushed a wagon train. One of the wagons was loaded with had about 1,000 pounds of gold coins on it, and the Apaches pushed it over a cliff and burned it, set it on fire. So because the northern Apaches only wanted guns and horses. That's all. They had no use for gold. So anyway, we were on. We spent our time looking around up at it was original Apache homeland, and we were finding their trails, their village locations, where they were, and ambush sites, cartridges. I've still got some of them. It said U.S. Cavalry on the back of them, stamped on the back of them, and Apache war arrows, obsidian war arrows. And wow. Unfortunately, I traded my best Apache arrows to a Peruvian shaman. I kind of wish I hadn't now because it was a bad trade.
Oh no.
Yeah, he was from Peru. He lives in Peru. So anyway, we were. Now, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that happens to me, and I've 1,000 times I've said, "Why me? Why me?" But so anyway, we found this strange hole. We were way off in the middle of nowhere. We had my friend's 4-wheel drive truck, and we found a very strange hole. It was just so. I asked a forest ranger about it, and he said, "Well, it was probably a sinkhole. Those things do happen around here." So anyway, it was we couldn't. It confounded us. So I went back to Michael's truck to get a metal detector, a pick, and a shovel. We were going to go around the hole with a metal detector and see if there's anything down there. Because sometimes there might be $1 million worth of stuff in these holes.
Sure.
I can tell stories about that all night, about people that found hundreds of millions of dollars of the gold bars. So anyway, we were in the middle of
your pickaxe and your shovel, and you went back. And what did you find?
Yeah. So I got the pickaxe, the pick, and the shovel, and a metal detector. Michael was maybe 200 yards from me. I thought it was about 100 yards. I wrote on my Facebook page, but it was actually probably close to 200 yards. And so on the way back, we were in a maple forest, eastern maples, and the ground was really treacherous. The leaves, you couldn't tell how deep the leaves were. So I had to be really careful. But halfway back, I saw a rock sticking out. So I looked. Now this happened in 2 seconds. I looked down, and I looked back up, and I was in another canyon a mile away from where I had just been. We had. Yeah, and I can prove that because Michael was there. He got real worried because I didn't show up, and so I've got somebody to back me up on that. I knew where I was because we'd been there the day before, so I knew exactly where I was. So whoever put me there, I just wrote about this on my Facebook. Whoever or whatever put me there landed me in a safe place. I mean, I could have been landed on rocks or in the middle of a tree or something like that, but I was in a very safe spot. So anyway, I said we had two-way radios. We did almost all the time, but I think I had both of them in my backpack. So Michael didn't know where I was. So it took me over an hour, and I got lost on the way because I didn't know the route to exactly where he was. And with a metal detector and a heavy metal detector and a pick and shovel, it was a brutal walk. Brutal. So finally, after a while, we kept yelling to each other, and we located Michael. And where I actually was, there was a valley there. If I'd have gone straight up the valley, I would have came out right where Michael was. But instead, I went up on the damn mountain, and just had a brutal time with that weight I was carrying. So anyway, I mean, I can prove it. Michael Greenup would.
Here's my question about that, Tom. I mean, you talk about somebody moving you, but was it a portal you went through? Sounds like it.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's a good question. That was sacred Apache land. A lot of it was, and I understand about the Apaches, the sacredness. So anyway, I've been thinking about this because so many people have posted on my Facebook page. When I looked down. When I was bringing my head up, there was some kind of a flash, a flick, like flicking a switch. And there was a little bit of a shock. I run this back through my mind many times, and there was an instantaneous shock. So that must have been when whatever was transporting me. That must have been part of it. So, but was it me that did it? No. Was it an extraterrestrial? No. Was it who did it? What did it? That's I can't remote view it. Not even some things are unremote.
Your experience, it does remind me of David Paulides' work with Missing 411. How people go missing, and maybe going through a portal like that, but they don't end up in the same dimension. They end up somewhere else. So, but you got lucky that you landed in the same dimension and you knew your way back. But I'm sure a lot of those people who are gone for good can't find their way back. So, and you're bringing up a lot of very interesting experiences, and I think so many of them are interdimensional. And here's another example of that, of how close we are to other dimensions and how you can pass through. Now, wasn't Geronimo an Apache?
Yeah.
Indian?
Yes. Yeah.
And Geronimo was known for going through these portals. He really knew how to work them. He would go through a portal and show up 50 miles away in a matter of minutes. So obviously that's something that he knew exactly what he was doing with those doorways. So it's very interesting that and I don't know if Native Americans or Indians have kept that tradition alive, and if there's anybody that knows how to do that like he did.
I know ancient Indian shamans. My best friend is Cliff Mahooty. One of my best friends is Cliff Mahooty. He's a Zuni elder. He's 76, and Cliff and I have had long conversations. And the Indians. There are some things that I think are lost. But I would ask Cliff, and he'd say, we just don't know. and some of these things are so paranormal we never understood them either, like dogmen. You know, I asked Cliff, what do you think a dogman is? And he says, we don't know. We just know it's something paranormal that we can't explain. So, you know, I think the Indians have forgotten a lot of things because they were always been close to the earth. They weren't immersed in asphalt and concrete like we are. They always had their feet on the earth, and so they were probably had access to incredible abilities that they'd always have had. But you know, they've been eating so many hot dogs and drinking beer, and I'm not joking either, because I know what the Navajos have lost, and they've lost their great healing techniques that I know of. And the Navajos were incredible healers, the old ones, and they don't do it anymore. They're watching TV and eating hot dogs, and so are the Hopi. Now the Hopi are a little bit better, but the Hopi are trying to hang on to their traditions. But so anyway, David Paulides, yeah, I agree. Somebody emailed me that today. Maybe they're going through a portal and they never come back.
Right.
It could very well be, because I can't remote view what David Paulides he's studying. I can't remote view it. I've tried. I get nowhere.
And he said that most remote viewers that have approached him have the same problem, that they can't see it. They can't see beyond it, and that's what makes me think that yes, there are portals all over our planet that take people into other dimensions, never to be seen again, and that psychics, mediums, remote viewers can't find them either, which is really interesting and very scary that can happen in our parks or on reservations, anywhere.
Well, 200,000 or 300,000 people disappear every year, and they're never found, not a trace of them. So I'll tell you a story about something that happened on the Bradshaw Ranch. And Ancient Aliens was going to do a show on this. We went back and forth for 6 months, and finally they got there were so many problems. They finally just dropped it. But Linda Bradshaw and I were on the out doing our stuff one night, and the Bradshaws had 7 dogs. If a dog wandered onto the ranch, they'd keep it. So they had 7 dogs, and they were all stayed outside. And it was beach sand, because the ocean has come and gone 7 times here. So it was all beach sand. The Bradshaw Ranch is sitting on a beach. And it's all beach sand. So the dogs would dig into the beach sand in the summer to keep cool, and in the winter to keep warm. So all the dogs were oh shoot, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, shoot, I totally forgot where I was going with this. What were we talking about?
Story, though. So what happened to the dogs? They had their own paranormal adventure?
Oh, no. Okay, I got... I'm old. Bear with me. So anyway, there was
every day.
Yeah. There was a... Yeah, my mind wandered to something awful. You know, like I've always said, my mouth is always 3 seconds ahead of my brain, and that's gets me into all kinds of trouble. So anyway, we didn't know it, but there was a humanoid creature watching us. Probably it was about 9 o'clock at night, and it had probably always been there, and it was next to a post. There was an old apple orchard there that never worked. It never quite made it, but the trees were still there, the live ones, the dead ones, and the fence. So it was standing next to a post. It was a creature, and so we had 3.5 million candle power spotlights that we had, and so we were the dogs suddenly simultaneously got up and started running full speed towards the apple orchard. So we shined our spotlights in that direction to see what the dogs were after. And so both spotlights fell on a humanoid creature that was running. It was 5 foot 8 inches tall. Everything on it was brown: skin, hair, shoes, clothes. Everything was brown, a fairly light brown. Everything. And it didn't it ran diagonally away from us. It didn't look at us because these things, all the time I was on the Bradshaw Ranch, these things did not want us to see their face full on. They would turn or whatever. We get a picture, we get a photograph. You know, the blue-haired man. It's all over the internet. The blue-haired man is a typical one. Linda got a shot of this man that was interdimensional. As I say, it's the only photograph of a real interdimensional man, human man, ever taken. We call it the blue-haired man. So anyway, so this creature is running as fast as it can go, diagonally away from us, and it got to a yucca plant. So I knew how tall it was, and it just blinked out, just like that, blinked out. And the dogs caught up with it, and they milled around, and it came back. So Ancient Aliens was going to do a reenactment of this, and the Travel Channel actually did a few reenact some of my stuff, you know, which is kind of a little hokey, but it was fun to watch. So anyway, Linda and I went out there the next. So Linda and I went out there the next day. And we expected to see some tracks, because this thing was, you know, it was running, and it looked like it was on the ground, but there were no tracks. There were only dog tracks, and a mouse would have left tracks. The sand was so soft. So we knew exactly where this thing disappeared. We figured it must have run into a portal, right? So we're sticking our arms through this. Can you see my arm? Did my arm disappear? You know. And and we were doing that stuff for a couple of hours, and nothing happened. We went around to the back and tried it that way. Can you see just my arm sticking out? And so if it was a portal, it didn't affect us any, and we weren't going to be stupid enough to just walk into it. Disappear and come back.
And also my understanding about portals is that there are beings that can create portals. So they don't have to be permanently attached to any particular place on the planet. Some of them are, certainly. But some beings just create their own. And I've heard Bigfoot can also do that. So I'm not sure if that's true. I don't have a lot of information about it, but I've heard stories about it. So there's a number of different kinds of portals. So maybe this man in brown created his own portal to blink out.
Yeah, I know nothing about that, but I've heard that many times too, but I know absolutely nothing about it.
That's a great story, though.
Yeah.
So it sounds like at the Bradshaw Ranch, it sounds like things were okay. They were interesting. Nobody ever got hurt or attacked or anything like that.
No.
That's true? That's good.
Yeah. I tell people, whatever was on that ranch could have killed Linda and I any time or hurt us, and we were never hurt in any way. It got to the point after about 3 years of being out there, Linda and I had this pact: if they kill us, we're going to push this thing to the limit, because we knew it was going to. We knew it was going to stop. So we everything we got, we gave it away. We never tried to make money on this stuff. We were pretty poor ourselves, but we gave everything away. So we knew this was going to end, so we were just going to maybe do something great for humanity, right?
Yeah.
So we had a pact one night: if they kill us, if we die doing this, we're going to push it to the limit whenever we can, and we did. Linda was an awesome person. Her husband Bob. Bob was a typical redneck Arizona cowboy. He was there in 1949. He bought that ranch in 1949, and he had a disc surrounded by white spheres land right in front of him on the ranch one day. He was on national TV on Paranormal Borderline, Jonathan Frakes, with this story, telling about this story. And so that was enough for him. He didn't want to see anymore. And Linda would go in there and say, "Bob, you've got to come out and see this." And he would not. He'd stay in. He'd stay in there and watch TV. He would not come out. He believed it. He knew what we were dealing with, but he didn't want to see any more after that disc landed in front of him. So yeah.
I would love to see that. How about you, PK? Wouldn't that be fun?
Definitely.
Yeah,
incredible.
I'm open to it. But yeah, some people aren't cut out for it. Some people don't want to explore it, and that's fine too. It's their prerogative. But the Bradshaw Ranch does sound like a real highway of interdimensional beings. And those incredible photos you have in your book of the orbs. You sent us a couple of them. There's like hundreds, thousands of orbs that you took pictures of.
Well, I kind of brag about this. Linda Bradshaw and I were probably the first people in the world to study orbs. There's a guy with a PhD in Michigan, and I can't remember his name, but he wrote a book about orbs. And orbs are living things. They're alive. I'm trying to cut this a little bit short, but we learned that because we could see them flying around on the ranch. It used to be very common. It never happens anymore. I haven't seen them for 5 years out there. But they were spheres anywhere from 6 inches to 50 feet. I've seen them 50 feet across, and they were yeah, oh yeah. I got so many stories that get running through my mind. But they would. Linda and I saw these things for years, and one night we thought they were planes landing at the Cottonwood Airport. And one night I said, Linda, I don't think those are planes landing. I think they're something else. So we started playing Morse code games with these things with our spotlights, and they answered. We do 333 442. Yeah, and yeah. So anyway, that started the whole thing. And so we were the first ones to study orbs, and they are living beings. They're alive, most of them. I did UFO tours for 23 years. I had a tour company for 23 years. I'm retired now. But I had a UFO tour one night, and this guy was going to prove that orbs with dust. So he paid, so go for it. So he was out there throwing dust in the air all night long, taking flash pictures with his camera. He came back, and he had dust all over, and his camera was full of dust. He says, they're not dust. So, yeah.
So he discovered that. Good for him. He had a change of mind.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what an adventure with this ranch. It's just too bad it's not there anymore. You said people can walk right into it and everything, but the buildings nobody's living there. It's deserted. So that's kind of too bad.
No, it's in ruins. I mean, the doors and windows are all smashed in. The weeds are waist high. So.
I went on YouTube today and took a look at the remnants of it. I would imagine it was fabulous in its glory days.
Well, it was a home, and it was really nice. Mm-hmm. It was really comfortable. I loved being out there.
Yeah.
It
feels good though when you look at it. The way it's stretched.
Yeah. It was a real nice, homey place, and it was in the middle of nowhere. There was nobody around, no traffic noise, nothing to. Nothing but the strange stuff. We were never afraid of this stuff. And I mean, I could go on for another 2 hours telling stories about the Bradshaw Ranch, but they never, I've told people some of this stuff. They say, "Oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. That's scary." It's negative. And I said, well, okay, fine. I never bothered. I wasn't bothered any, but they used to drive me nuts. Oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. That's fear. That's it's dark. All right, fine, whatever. Have it. It didn't bother me any.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, we know people that think that way, and they're skeptics, and they're just a big downer when it comes to the paranormal. And yeah, I think some of them like to feel that they're totally in control of their own little worlds, but that's really not the case. And there are so many intersections of paranormal events, and there are a lot of people who don't want to see them that way, don't want to experience it that way. So that's fine. That's their prerogative. But there's so much going on in the world today, and there are so many people witnessing UFOs in the sky and can tell a reasonable and credible story about having a connection with these extraterrestrials, positive or negative. So people, I think, are beginning to accept the reality here. And I I don't know. We've been told. Here's another thing. Maybe you can take a look into the future with your remote viewing and tell us if this guy's right.
Mm-hmm.
He was a captain. He still is a captain and in the military. And he says that eventually, within the next, what did he say, PK, year and a half or so, there's going to be a public alien presence on this planet. We're all going to know it. Have you seen that when you remote view into the future?
Oh, supposedly Whitley Strieber was told just weeks ago, and I spoke. I never met him, but I spoke just ahead of him at a UFO conference. He was told that we will not come in until we are humanity's last chance. I suspect that's true.
That's.
But I've tried. I've argued with extraterrestrials. Why don't you come in now? And they're really hard-nosed about this stuff. I mean, I have literally argued with them because I could communicate with them, and they really beat around the bush. Now, I think they're afraid of us. They're afraid of our reaction.
Why wouldn't they be? Look at us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of our listeners, and I am of the same mind, I think that's fine. So they don't want to save us or save the planet or make a big splash about it, but they can work, as you mentioned, and they do, with individuals to pass on their knowledge. And I think they should do more of that because there are a lot of very worthy people who would love to sit at their feet and learn. And take the information forward in a really positive way. I just don't think they're making the effort. Now, maybe I'm not traveling in the right circles, but we're not hearing much about that at all. I don't think we've heard about it at all. Right, PK?
No, definitely. The thing is, are we allowing them to realize we really want to know? We really want to work with it.
Yeah, we'd like to learn. I mean, there's so many people that would love to be students of healing and other things with ETs. It just seems like they're off on their own agenda. And my point is, well, hey, if you're on our planet and you see that there are people who are willing to learn these things and take them forward and help other people, why not? That's very different from coming in here and saying, we're going to help you morons save your own planet. It's a much more personal and individual connection, which I'm sure they can do. And based on what you said tonight, they do it, but I don't think they're doing enough of it.
I think they've got to learn to trust. And I don't think many of them are trustworthy.
Yeah. No, there are some that would kill them on sight. That has happened. So they're not fools. They've been machine gunned and that kind of stuff. It has happened. So they're not fools. I mean, they're not. There are some people that trigger happy. They see an extraterrestrial, they're going to start. Yeah, and they're going to start shooting.
But I would think they would know who's who and who to contact to pass on this kind of information. It's much like when you talk about the Native American tribes, they're not passing the knowledge on anymore, which is a terrible loss for everybody. And this, I think, this passage of information, knowledge, healing abilities, whatever you want to call it, it could happen. It could happen more often. There's lots of people on the planet who are good and who would be willing to carry these things forward. And I just don't. I just wish let me put it in a positive way, I wish they would do more of it. I really do.
Well, I can tell you one thing they don't want. They don't want to be worshipped. They're afraid of that.
Sure. Well, I'm sure, but hopefully, some of us have evolved enough to know that you're your own guru and you take knowledge just as you would if you were a Native American listening to an elder. You would want that knowledge to be passed on and make the world a better place. But Tom, we're about to run out of time. I can't believe it.
I know.
I
know. I gotta say one. I gotta say one thing. The reason I have a massive knowledge that if I pass it on, so maybe, just maybe, I can create a 100th monkey that will trigger everybody else that's on the verge of ascension, for a better word. But that's the main reason what I do. Yeah,
that That's great.
Yep.
Well, again, I want to tell everybody to buy your book, Merging Dimensions. Go to your website. Take a look at everything you have there, including your remote viewing technique. This has been a wonderful evening, Tom. We'd love for you to come back.
Oh,
okay,
definitely.
Let me know. We'll be in contact.
Definitely.
Okay, great.
Okay, everybody. We'll be back next week with another exciting show. Until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural.